And speaking of face-offs, a new confrontation is unfolding between Zelensky and Europe. It sounds improbable because Europe is the only force still backing Kiev. So why would Zelensky pick a fight with them? But he is, because he is under pressure to give in. Before I tell you more, let's look at the ground situation. The war has reached a stalemate. The front lines are frozen. Russia maintains a clear edge. And Ukraine, despite its new weapons and latest offensives, has failed to put Russia on the back foot. So now Western leaders are changing their posture. They're talking about a truce, a negotiated end to the war. That may not be to Zelensky's liking. It's all happening behind closed doors right now. Europe is offering some security guarantees too. But the Ukrainian president is in denial.
I believe that European guarantees will not be enough for Ukraine. And this cannot be discussed only with European leaders. Because for us, the real guarantees in any case of today or in the future are NATO.
You heard him. Zelensky is spelling out his terms for a truce. He says European security guarantees won't be enough. He wants a clear pathway towards a NATO membership. It's an idea that doesn't have many takers in Europe or in NATO. In any case, Zelensky is in no position to dictate terms. He's practically at the mercy of his allies. So what explains the sharp words? Well, there's a backstory here. Zelensky was in Brussels this week. Reports say that he was presented with a proposal. What if European troops are deployed as peacekeepers in Ukraine? That was the proposal, and here's the thought behind it. If there is a deal with Russia, European troops could protect Ukraine. Their presence would guarantee Ukraine's future security. At least that's the hope. And this idea was first floated by Emmanuel Macron, the French president. He even discussed it with Donald Trump. Both leaders met in Paris this month. Trump was in town for the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral. Reports say that Trump showed interest in this idea, which comes as no surprise because we know his position on the issue. Donald Trump wants to end the war ASAP. And to achieve this, he wants to stop military aid to Ukraine. Trump has said this in no uncertain terms, so Europe is preparing for that eventuality. Trump has also long complained about Europe's approach to defense. He doesn't want to keep writing checks to NATO. He wants the European members to step up to spend more on their defense. Hence the idea to deploy European troops in Ukraine. The only problem is Zelensky. He doesn't like the idea. He wants to keep fighting, and he wants more military aid.
That is, there are not enough weapons, not enough people. In some way, there are always not enough people. Of course, the commanders on the battlefield, also more troops. But what is very important is how the brigades are equipped so that they can defend the country.
Well, where will these weapons come from? Until last year, Zelensky's demands were taken seriously, but now a fatigue has set in. There aren't enough gains on the ground. Trump doesn't want to help. Germany, too, is growing wary of this war. Chancellor Olaf Scholz is on his way out. They're heading into an election in Germany. And they're pushing for a deal where peace becomes possible.
For now, continued support for Ukraine is important here. A clear course that there is no escalation of war, that it does not develop into a war between Russia and NATO.
So European leaders, too, want an end to the war. They can't pull the plug, though. They need a solid strategy for Ukraine. They have many details to figure out, like how many troops are they going to deploy? What would minimum deterrence look like? If there is a clash, what kind of support will they give to Kiev? Will European peacekeepers provide only tactical support, or will they engage with the Russians directly? Europe's proposal is missing all these crucial specifics. More importantly, who are they discussing a truce with? How will they bring Vladimir Putin to the talking table? He doesn't even recognize Zelensky as Ukraine's legitimate leader. Look at what he said yesterday.
If we can't negotiate with the head of the regime, who can we negotiate with if he's not legitimate himself? You know, if someone gets elected, gets legitimacy, we will talk to anyone, including Zelensky. But now, if Ukraine really wants to go down the path of peaceful settlement, they are certainly in a position to do so. They can organize inside Ukraine this process any way they want. It is just that we can only sign with those who is legitimate.
Putin says he's willing to negotiate, but he wants to dictate his terms. He is in a position to do so. Russian forces have the upper hand on the battlefield and Ukraine's allies want an exit. Zelensky's only option is to try and cut his losses.